Hello, welcome to my channel. I am really glad that you're here. I know there's a lot of videos that you can click on. My name is Jessie. I am a recent grad student. How do I say this? I have my I have my master's now. Now I'm working on lining up the whole job aspect of things. I forgot I need to like lean a little bit more forward and talk into my microphone. I might just hold this here. So today I wanted to read through some Reddit posts that have to do with people asking questions to okay, so it's on the subreddit called r slash therapy, and there's also r slash therapists, and I think it's really interesting to look through both of these subreddits because it's like vastly similar but in a totally different perspective, and I find it fascinating. So first we're going to look through a bunch of questions. I have not looked through them ahead of time, so we're going to see what are they? I have my professional counseling master's degree, and I have a lot of hours, and I am currently lining up supervisor slash job slash whatever. I've got interviews lined up. I've got offers. I do. I gotta decide, but it takes forever. In the meantime, I read through Reddit anyway on my own, so why not do it on camera here and utilize some of this expertise that I paid for and that I've spent a lot of hours working towards to assist. But again, I am not your therapist. I don't know these people specifically. I only know what I am reading, and I'm literally reading it right now on screen. So I know just as much as you do about these people. In fact, you may know more about them than I do. So just a note, if you happen to be the person, one of the people whose question I read, I am not your counselor. I'm not your therapist. I don't actually know enough about you to give you full advice. But what I'm going to do here, as I usually do, because nuance and two things being true at once, etc., I might give a couple of theories and a couple of like things that I suppose I might do if I'm summarizing what's going on correctly, which I will attempt to summarize what I think I see happening. My perspective is my perspective. I'm going to do my best to make sure that I'm representing that, passing on the knowledge, not your actual counselor. I really do want to help. So let me see. What do I have here? Let's start with this one. Does therapy ever actually start helping? It says advice wanted. So here I am. Gonna try to give some advice. It says, let me read this. I don't intend for this to be a rant. I really don't know how I am supposed to know. In the past, I've had counselors operated more of a medical setting, but I have been seeing my proper therapist for about a year and a half. She is a licensed professional clinical counselor. I do really like her. She is friendly and supportive. She reaches out after hours and lets me check in anytime I need. It feels good to have the support. I have CPTSD, mostly from being severely abused and neglected as a young child. I have done memory reconsolidation therapy, CBT, sand tray, harm reduction, brain spotting. The office even has a therapy dog. I like going and sitting in the quiet room for an hour every week, but other than that, I don't know if it's actually changing anything. I'm still miserable all the time. I still feel like I'm barely alive. I still have the relapses, and I'm tired. I'm tired of going in and telling her that I SH'd again, or I did XYZ that I'm not supposed to be doing. I'm tired and sick. I'm sick and tired of having deep lows. I am squeezing ice cubes and running a mile and drinking water and getting fresh air and eating healthy and taking my meds and writing things down and doing progressive muscle relaxation and resourcing. And I feel like I'm running out of tools to try and fix this. The more I try to feel like there isn't actually anything to be done. And this is all just a way for the whole world to feel like we are actually trying to fix people who can barely live. I'm scared that it can't actually get better. I appreciate the honesty and the openness and the bravery of sharing something like that on a place like Reddit, where people can be really judgmental and not understanding. And this sounds, exhausting. You've put in a lot of work. I don't know how many years, but it sounds like this is a lot of years of work and you're tired and you're like, why is this not helping? I keep trying different things. I think it's fair to rant. You say, I don't intend for this to be a rant. Rant on. That's what the internet is for. If it's not for anything, let it be for ranting when you need to get something off your chest. You're on Reddit. It's fine. There's a lot of things. CPTSD is rough. I have been diagnosed with CPTSD. Obviously, it's like a huge variety of things. It's technically not a diagnosis in the US right now, which is weird because it's in the manual that everyone else uses outside of the US. CPTSD, for those that don't know, has to do with repeated trauma. Generally speaking, that trauma starts in childhood and it is something that changes the nervous system because it starts so young. Generally speaking, CPTSD can happen to adults that had just fine, like normal childhoods too. I'm just saying in this case, their nervous system was shaped super early on. It sounds like they said, they mentioned in here though, there's one nugget that I noticed that stands out is that they feel good when they're sitting in the quiet room for an hour. Where is that? I like going and sitting in a quiet room for an hour every week. Maybe it's time, I don't know how long you've been doing counseling and therapy, but maybe it's time to pause for like a little bit and find a quiet room that you can sit in for an hour, like every single day or twice a day, like once in the morning, once in the evening. I don't know what your schedule's like or what would work for you. That's just kind of what I'm feeling here. But like, this is so short of an explanation and it has to do with things that they've tried as opposed to what's like going on. Like, what do you mean that you're miserable all the time? What does that feel like? What does that mean? Does it feel like you're like painfully bored? Does it feel like it's hopeless? Like there's nothing possibly exciting about the future? Is it that you are like grieving a person, or you're grieving a future that you thought you would have, or a relationship you thought you would have? There's a lot of reasons or like option. I don't know. I mean, I would be asking a lot of questions like this. Like, I find a lot of the therapies that you've tried can be really helpful for people with extensive trauma. However, sometimes that's not quite right. Like, that's not quite enough. I don't know if you've tried medication. I'm not licensed to prescribe anything, but if you haven't, and this has been years and years, it might be something to consider. Maybe not right now if you're going to take a break of counseling. But anyway, I think I've spent long enough on this one. I just think that this person is putting in a lot of effort and it's really apparent that they're tired. And that makes so much sense. This is a really long time that you've been working. I'm glad that your therapist feels friendly and supportive and that she has like the ability for you to reach out so that you feel really supportive all the time, not just like during the once a week counseling for about a year and a half. Okay, but also you can ask her. You can literally bring this Reddit post to your counselor and read it to her and say like, I am so sorry. Like, maybe you feel guilty because at the beginning you say, I don't intend for this to be a rant. So I'm wondering if maybe you're having a hard time bringing this up to your counselor. And that's maybe what I might recommend first, is to bring, like, literally, if you want to, bring this Reddit post to her and see what she suggests. Okay. Sending some like warmth and comfort and quiet spaces with no need to talk or respond. But I hope you're doing okay. Okay, let's move ahead. It's really hard to close something that's like super intense and deep, and I can tell that this person really they just want things to feel better, and I just don't know what that means for them, you know? I have so many questions, but I see that there's a lot of effort. Okay, next. Help. Is it time to find a new therapist? Before I even read this, I'm going to say probably. If you're questioning it, you might as well try. It's not like you can't go, well, depends on It depends on what your therapist is like, but I imagine if you were to stop and go see another counselor for a little while, I imagine they would probably be okay if you like came back to them in the future. I don't know. Generally speaking, that's usually okay. Okay, let's read this though. Hang on. Sorry. It's awful. I'm trying to film a video that I don't have to like edit a whole lot. So I'm trying really hard not to cough, but I'm actually like still sick from, if you saw my Mother's Day Reddit video, I got sick that day. That was the day that I woke up feeling awful. And I am still actually like, I'm like not sure if I'm like, is this the same thing that's just continuing, or is this a new one? Like, we don't know. But yeah, I've been really like, generally speaking, uncomfortable and anxious. So this is one of my ways of coping with this, and I don't have much longer. Okay, I only have like a few minutes to do this one, so we're gonna continue without getting off track. Hello all, I am having trouble deciding if it's time to stop seeing my new therapist. I know after reading it might seem silly that I can't decide, but I've genuinely never had a great therapist before, and I don't know what's typical. I have only seen this therapist 3 times now. I picked her over other therapists because we had a great first session and we seem to have really good chemistry. She's also very well liked as a therapist in my town. However, I noticed that 3 sessions in, it doesn't feel like we've actually talked. It still feels very surface level, and so far every session has been about my college situation, discussing if I should go on to medication, said I didn't want to try it, and asking if my eating, sleeping patterns, mind you, none of these are my biggest issues. She is also an ED specialist. I do not have an ED and never have, but thought she would be good in other areas too. But to be honest, I'm just naturally a small person, but was getting the vibe the first couple of sessions that maybe she thought I had an ED when I really do not. She keeps saying something about me having a low margin and that it would be bad for me to lose weight if I get sick, for example. The biggest thing that's bothered me though is that she's very forgetful. 3 sessions in and she did not remember which of the 2 local colleges I went to. I'm also a transfer student and I am on the wait list for a certain university. I reminded her which one, and then not even asking a minute later, she forgot and started talking about a different university in our state, thinking that was the one I was waitlisted for. She also does not take notes, at least not during session. She also asked in our 3rd session how old I was again. So is it time to find someone else? My 3rd session with her was this morning, and I left feeling like I just had a conversation, not like therapy. I guess I don't want to have to deal with the whole hassle of finding a new therapist again, especially because I keep hoping she will get better because it's early on and I feel comfortable around her. I think I just should start like I did end with the last one, and that like maybe you should talk to your counselor directly about this if you haven't already. Be like, hey, it feels like you think I might have an ED, but I don't, and I'm not 100% sure that you're hearing me, that you're like I don't know how to, you'd have to phrase that in whatever feels right to you, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like, I think you could also just bring this post to your counselor again. And I think that, like, depending on how your counselor reacts to you bringing up issues with them, that might really tell you a lot about whether you should stay with them or not. Because if they react in a way that's pretty obviously like makes you uncomfortable, then you know for sure this is not the right counselor for you. There's a ton of counselors out there, which is really rough to find the right one, because they're also like, there's a lot out there. They're all different, and at the same time they all have different schedules. A lot of them are booked. Some of them work through agencies that are tricky to schedule with. So I know it's really hard, especially you're like, I'm in with one, like, should I just keep going? I really like, if you're questioning it after talking about this with them, then I really think you should. Honest opinion. That's my opinion though. I don't know the whole situation. And I wonder what it is that you are exactly dealing with. Okay, the not taking notes during session, like a lot of counselors don't take notes during the session. They take notes immediately after the session. Like the second you leave the room, they go onto their computer and make their notes there, because otherwise there's like they'd have to lock up that notebook and behind 2 different locks, and that just becomes like a liability a little bit too. So it's not necessarily worth it to have a notebook like notes, like physical notes, you can. Obviously, lots of counselors have a room with a locked file cabinet inside, and that door is locked. That's 2 locks. Anyway, I'm just saying that there's like a lot of rules to consider. Yeah, so I'm wondering, what is it? What is it that you're there for? And you said this is one of your new therapists. You've never had a good therapist, but how many have you tried? And has it been like a while? And like, what was up with them? And what's going on with you? Why are you here? It doesn't feel like they're asking that question. And if they don't ask that question, then they can't really help you figure out what your goals are, which it feels like you probably know what they are. You're just waiting for someone to ask you. So I'm sorry. Again, I'm not your counselor. I don't know your full situation, but wishing you the best. Okay, I am moving on to another one because I have just like a couple more minutes. This one says, what kind of therapy will help me? And right off the bat, I'm going to say, I don't know. What do you want? What's your goal? What's your issue? What is it that you want to work on? Why? Like, what is it that motivates you? Why are you wanting to work on it? And is there anything that you like really hate? Because you really hate doing, like, I'm not a worksheet person. Please don't give me a worksheet. I'm going to immediately be like, I just like don't want to connect. Anyway, that's a me problem. But for you, like, is there something like that you're like, I just don't think so? Okay, so I made a fake persona to chat with my situationship. Context, we met in January. During that time, he was the one who created a whole fake persona and lied to me about almost everything. Where he's from, who he is, and where he goes on the weekend. He also had a fiance. After I found out, everything changed, but I was still in love with him. Things with his fiance entirely fell off, by the way. Also, he just kept saying that he couldn't see me. It's been difficult to accept when I know we could be so good together. He's also really putting effort into change. We've been off and on, and he says he can't do anything without me since it's super complicated. Later, I heard him talk to a girl in Canada 2 days after we swore we'd never see each other again. I felt like he didn't even like me the whole time and he was just putting up with me, but I know he enjoys me. He just doesn't want to accept it. Anyway, what started as just a joke to message him from an anonymous account led to him and I actually having proper deep conversations. He thinks I'm someone else, but I have the same basic identity, curious, emotionally intelligent, smart. Can speak about different topics, engaging and funny and flirty. But of course, I created a persona which was different than me. And after trying to stop their conversation, but he really likes messaging me. To my surprise, he's also been messaging paragraphs and texting so much as well without even wanting one photo, meeting me in real life or whatever. I blame him for stupidity. But I'm falling more in love with him and it feels like he's forgotten my existence entirely. I want to tell him it's me, but I've made up a whole story about my job, my residence, my relationship, etc. But the core is still me. Am I wrong? I already know this is crazy. So please, if that's all you have to say, don't bother commenting. I'm a person who feels a bit too much and his loss has been something I haven't been able to deal with. It's been 2 weeks since he last spoke to him as me. I last spoke to him as me. And 5 days since I've been messaging the other girl. Sorry, I have an alarm set. I'm going to snooze the alarm for just a second. No romantic conversation with the other girl yet. Okay, well, no, this is good. Thank you for sharing because I think it's important to be able to vocalize or put into words what's going on, like what your question is. So it seems like you are really curious about why your boyfriend is more like open and deep with this persona that you created versus you, but like it probably has to do with safety because it's so much safer to be open with someone who is fully anonymous and like not connected to your life. You're his girlfriend, so it means I assume that you mean a lot to him, and so potentially it sounds like there might be worry that if he tells you what's actually going on or like what's on his mind that you would not like it or something like that. I don't know. That's what comes up to me first, but like I have no idea. Curious also though, like what's going on with this, like he's open to talking to these other girls, talking to a girl in Canada. There's just like a lot going on here. And then something about him requesting photos of you. These to me are what I might start thinking of as red flags. They're definitely at least orange flags. I don't know what kind of photos they're requesting of you, but I do recall I had a boyfriend in college/high school who requested photos of me. One of them was to make sure I was where I said I was, because I wanted to make sure I wasn't at a party or hanging out with anybody of the male gender. These are things that I'd be concerned about because that's kind of controlling, and also potentially working towards like actually being like a really unhealthy relationship dynamic. So I do want to bring that up as a concern. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that for right now. I hope that you've enjoyed this. This is really fun. I'm going to have to do more of these. Again, I'm not your counselor. I don't really know that much about you. I just know what I've read here. I do want to say that talking about it is great. I think hopefully even just writing this down was helpful for you. And I hope that any of this advice finds its way to you. Please take care. Also, I'm supposed to say to like and subscribe and stuff. So you should do that. I do mental health videos. I've been doing a lot of like counselor reacts to Reddit, which has been really fun. I also like to just share like mental health information, and I also crochet. I forgot to show you my my emotional support buddy, which is this little pink crochet bear that I made. It's the smallest bear I've made. She's really cute. Okay, I gotta go. I hope you have a great day. Take care. Thank you for being here. Bye.